Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Sattva Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vyāsadeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Sri Vrindavan Mathura Dhama Ki Sri Dwarka Dhama Ki Sri Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Sri Navadvip Mayapur Dhama Ki Sri Mayapur Chandradev Mandir Ki Gangamayi Jamunamayi Ki Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Harinam Sankirtana Ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai Shri Gonitai Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai Shri Krishna Balaram Ki Jai Shri Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri La Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhuttale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutirivi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyāsam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nasta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Cakāra Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Nanyam Swasyayanam Mahat Sri Krishna Chaitanya
Sri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu Nityananda
Sri Advaita Gadadhara
Sri Advaita Gadadhara
Sri Vyāsadeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Sri Vyāsadeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsadevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsadevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsadevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya
Om Sri Surabhyai Namaha
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 Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataram Yat kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataram. So we are continuing our reading from Canto number 1, Srimad Bhagavatm, chapter number 4, the appearance of Sri Narada.
Today is 24th.
24, eh? Okay, we went through a few. Yeah. Text number 24. Ta eva vedā durmedhair dhāryante puruṣair yathā evam cakāra bhagavān vyāsaḥ kṛpaṇa-vatsalaḥ Taeva vedā durmedhair dhāryante puruṣair yathā evam cakāra bhagavān Vyāsa kṛpaṇa-vatsalaḥ Taeva vedā durmedhair dhāryante puruṣair yathā evam cakāra bhagavān Vyāsa kṛpaṇa-vatsalaḥ Taeva vedā durmedhair dhāryante puruṣair yathā evam cakāra bhagavān Vyāsa kṛpaṇa-vatsalaḥ
Taeva vedā durmedhair dhāryante puruṣair yathā evam cakāra bhagavān vyāsaḥ kṛpaṇa-vatsalaḥ tā eva veda durmedhair,
tā eva veda durmedhair,
dhāryante puruṣair
dhāryante puruṣair yathā,
evaṁ cakāra bhagavān,
evam cakāra bhagavān,
vyāsa kṛpaṇa-vatsalaḥ,
Vyāsa kṛpaṇa-vatsalaḥ, te, that, evaṁ, certainly, vedā, the book of knowledge, durmedhair, by the less intellectual, dhāryante, can assimilate, puruṣair, by the man, yathā, as much as, evam, thus, cakāra, edited, bhagavān, the powerful, vyāsaḥ, the great sage of Vyāsa, kṛpaṇa-vatsalaḥ, very kind to the ignorant mass. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Thus, the great sage Vyāsadeva, who is very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so they might be assimilated by less intellectual men. Kindly repeat after me. Thus, the great sage Vyāsadeva, who is very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so they might be assimilated by less intellectual men. Purport. The Veda is one, and the reasons for its division in many parts are explained herewith. The seed of all knowledge, or the Veda, is not a subject matter which can easily be understood by any ordinary man. There is a stricture that no one should try to learn the Vedas who is not a qualified Brahmana. This stricture has been wrongly interpreted in so many ways. A class of men who claim Brahminical qualification simply by their birthright in the family of a Brahmana claim that the study of the Vedas is a monopoly of the Brahmana caste only. Another section of the people take this as an injustice to members of other castes who do not happen to take birth in a Brahmana family. But both of them are misguided. The Vedas are subjects which had to be explained even to Brahmaji by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the subject matter is understood by persons with exceptional qualities of goodness. Persons who are in the modes of passion and ignorance are unable to understand the subject matter of the Vedas. The ultimate goal of Vedic knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. This personality is very rarely understood by those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance. In the Satya Yuga, everyone was situated in the mode of goodness. Gradually the mode of goodness declined during the Treta and Dwapara Yugas, and the general mass of people became corrupt. In the present age, the mode of goodness is almost nil. And so for the general mass of people, the kind-hearted, powerful sage, Srila Vyāsadeva, divided the Vedas in various ways so that they may be practically followed by less intelligent persons in the modes of passion and ignorance. It is explained in the next shloka as follows. Translation again. Thus, the great sage Vyāsadeva, who is very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so they might be assimilated by less intellectual men. So the subject matter of the Vedas is a very involved subject matter. How the Vedas came to be, how they were manifest, that in itself is very extraordinary. And especially what is the nature of this knowledge. We get some understanding in the last few verses, including this one, how Vedic knowledge is not so easy to understand. Not so easy to understand, and also not so easy to come across. Very few people actually come in contact with the Vedic knowledge, especially outside of India. In India it's a different, everyone knows Bhagavad Gita. Not so many people know about Bhagavatam. But in the Western countries, people don't even know about Bhagavad Gita, what to speak of other Vedic literatures. So a very interesting point being made here. See, because in Kali Yuga, everyone is very, very fallen. Fallen means under the influence of the modes of material nature, especially mode of passion, mode of ignorance, and therefore cannot understand even simple things. What to speak of such elevated subject matters that are presented in the Vedic literatures. So Vedic knowledge is eternal knowledge, it is just like Krishna also explains in the Bhagavad Gita, it is the topmost knowledge, isn't it? Raja Vidya. Raja Vidya, Raja Guyam, Pavitram, Idam, Uttamam. Uttamam, highest. Pavitram, purest. And Guyam. Guyam means very, very confidential. Raja Vidya, Raja Guyam, Pavitram, Idam, Uttamam. Pratyakshavagamam dharmyam susukam kartamavyayam. If one is fortunate to come in contact with this knowledge, then his life actually becomes, it takes a proper, we could say, direction. So Vedic knowledge, because of its high level, we could say, of confidentiality. Actually, just yesterday I was reading one explanation. I have the Sat Sandarbha of Srila Jiva Goswami as translated actually and commented upon by one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, Gopi Paranardhana Prabhu, who was very expert in Sanskrit. And in one of the verses written by Srila Vyāsadeva, he was mentioning something very interesting, that in the same way that Vedic knowledge is very confidential, certain instructions, certain mantras are more confidential. So he was making the point that that's why we don't find in so many places in the Vedic literatures mention of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Of course, for us, because we are connected with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he has come to introduce the Yuga Dharma for the sage of Kali, which is the chanting of the holy name, specifically the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we tend to take it for granted. We're accustomed, we hear it all the time, we're supposed to chant it all the time, but we don't realize, we don't understand that actually this is the topmost of all mantras, because it has the power. It has the power to introduce us to Krishna. It has the power to introduce us to Krishna's most confidential nature and pastimes that are eternally going on in the spiritual world. And that means that one needs to be qualified, isn't it? It's like anything in the material world. To be admitted somewhere, at the university, for example, you have to have some preliminary qualification, or to go to another country, some basic qualifications are there, etc. So in a similar way, to go back to the spiritual world, so many qualifications. The qualification actually to go back to the spiritual world is to be completely detached from the modes of material nature, isn't it? To be completely absorbed in activities of devotional service. So that's why this injunction, which Prabhupada mentions actually in the purport, that only Brahmanas traditionally could study the Vedas, because they were qualified, they were in the mode of goodness. Brahmana means in the mode of goodness. But this, as Prabhupada nicely explains, actually this has been misunderstood by some Brahmanas, not all, by some Brahmanas, and also misunderstood by people who are against, why is it that this knowledge is not, why we cannot read, why we cannot chant, So actually the original Vedas cannot be even read and understood by ordinary people unless one has undergone like a good 12 years of intense study in the Vedic literatures, learning the grammar, all of these things, which are very intricate actually, and it takes many years, then one cannot even understand what he's reading, you see. That's why that injunction was there. Now, to our great fortune, and this is the point that is being made here, to our great fortune, Srila Vyāsadeva, understanding that how many qualified brahmanas are there in Kali Yuga, you know? Not many. There are not many qualified brahmanas. There are not many who have taken up this very intense study, and it's not just a question of taking up some particular study, but it is also having to do with being born so that one has the natural qualification or adhikar. That's why the samskaras are actually very important. The different samskaras, which are mainly for householders, beginning with the garbhadana samskara, where one who is married understands that in order to beget a good child, in order to beget a Krishna conscious living entity, then I should prepare myself mentally. And so both husband and wife, before they conceive, they perform certain activities, which includes chanting extra rounds, for example, before they actually conceive a child. So this is the kind of standard that was followed previously. Nowadays it's very rarely followed, but it is, you know, Srila Prabhupada spoke about the importance of introducing these different samskaras so that those who are born in our devotee families, they are, we could say, practically speaking, purified from the very moment of conception. False understanding, so many false understandings are there in modern day society, but especially regarding conception. You know, modern man will argue that until the embryo develops at a, maybe up to 6 weeks, it's not considered a human being. Therefore, they have laws where they can abort what they call the fetus. They call the fetus because it's less, for them it's not a human being, it's not a child, it's not a developed human being. But this is a wrong conception. From the moment that there is conception, from that moment the living entity is present, and it is simply a matter of time that all of the different bodily features will actually be developing. And after so many months, for example, when all of the senses are in the body, one actually can actually hear, as we see examples actually in the Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj being one who was able to hear the instructions given by Narada Muni. So Vedic knowledge, coming back to the point of Srila Vyāsadeva understanding our fallen conditions. Of course, here it's put very nicely, gently, you know. Kṛpaṇa-vatsalaḥ. Kṛpaṇa-vatsalaḥ. Vatsala means very kind, and kṛpaṇa, Prabhupada translates as to the ignorant mass. And in the translation it's written as less intellectual men, yes. Okay, durmedhair. Okay, less intellectual has to do with durmedhair. So that is our position in Kali Yuga. Practically everyone is having less intellectual capacity. Definitely no capacity to understand the original Vedas. As explained here, unless one was a qualified Brahmana, only then could he even begin reading, what to speak of understanding the original Vedas. So Srila Vyāsadeva, out of his great compassion, wanting that people in Kali Yuga, although disqualified in so many ways, still get an opportunity to get the benefit of the Vedic knowledge. He summarized the Vedic knowledge. Of course, in the Srimad Bhagavatm. What he did, of course, in what Srila Jiva Goswami is stressing and underlining, is that since the original Vedas cannot be understood so easily, and also a lot of the original Vedas are not available now, as potent as the original Vedas, we were reading this in the last few days, are the itihas and puranas, isn't it? Itihas, different stories or histories of mankind, and especially the Puranas. And therefore, one of those Puranas is this Bhagavat Purana, or the Srimad Bhagavatam. And although Srila Vyāsadeva, he put into writing so many Vedic literatures, this became, we can say, his masterpiece, isn't it? Like Srila Prabhupada also, he translated so many books, so many literatures, but his masterpiece actually is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is our tradition in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, to give importance, emphasis, especially on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Srimad Bhagavatam, as it is presented by Srila Vyāsadeva, and as it is transmitted throughout the ages by our Vaishnavacharyas, is accessible to everyone. There's no bar. No one is barred from attending Bhagavatam classes, isn't it? I mean, in all of our temples, it's open naturally. So this is the mercy of Srila Vyāsadeva, which is coming down. That same mercy is also coming down in Guru Parampara. And of course the same principle in terms of being situated in goodness. The more we are situated in goodness when we attend the Bhagavatam class, the more we can get the benefit, isn't it? That's why it is, Srila Prabhupada would often mention how, well, it's right there in the Bhagavatam also, one should be hearing with attention, isn't it? One should be eating, one should be hearing attentively the Bhagavatam And of course, even if someone doesn't hear attentively, still he would get some benefit, but more benefit if someone hears attentively. So this is the process that we are following. This is the process introduced by Srila Prabhupada. And although we are not reading the original Vedas, but we should know, and we were speaking about that the other day, we should know that not only the essence of the original Vedas are we hearing and receiving, but Srila Vyāsadeva has actually gone even beyond, isn't it? So in other words, we are fully receiving the benefit of the Vedic knowledge by hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam, and in other words, it has been especially, we say, tailor-made for the people of Kali Yuga, so that we can make some spiritual advancement. Yeah. Oh, some gift. Hare Krishna. What is that? Bhagavatam?
Yes, Prabhu. From Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita also.
Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. That's coming from where?
ISKCON Temple Abbots.
ISKCON Temple Abbot.
Yeah.
Who is sending that?
Some auditors, I don't know, Prabhu.
Oh.
They gave me some order.
Okay. All glories to book distribution.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Great. Give him some prasadam. Yeah. One small second. Thank you very much. So, any questions or comments?
We say no, that when we get married,
Huh?
when we get married,
When we get married.
Krishna conscious, so that children also will be Krishna conscious.
Yeah.
But in Satyuga, this Hiranyakashipu is demon. How he could produce a Prahlada, like Prahlada got devotee.
How is it that
He was not at all Krishna Bhakta.
yeah, correct, yeah. When one marries as a devotee, then it is generally expected that one's children will also be devotees. Of course, you're pointing out that in the case of Prahlad, his father was not a devotee. His father was not a devotee, but somehow he became a devotee. This is a little unusual because if we study the history, Prahlad was fortunate to get the good association, isn't it, of Narada Muni through sound vibration when he was still in the womb of his mother, when his mother was staying at the ashram of Srila Narada Muni. And every day he would be, he and others in the ashram, that's one of the main activities in ashram, isn't it, is having class on Srimad Bhagavatam, other Vedic literatures. So that facilitated and enabled him to actually become a devotee. So it is normally, if one's parents are devotees, one becomes a devotee, and normally if one's parents are not devotees, one doesn't become a devotee. But there are exceptions to that. Even sometimes both parents may be devotees, but then someone may come out, especially in Kali Yuga actually, because everything is very mixed and confused and whatnot. But to be on the safe side, it is advisable that we do our utmost to follow the various prescriptions, especially in the matter of following this, the different samskaras. The day when ISKCON will have many of our grihastas strictly following the samskara, the first samskara and the others as well, but especially the first one, Garbhadana samskara, then we can expect at that time that those devotees born from such Vaishnava parents who follow strictly the Garbhadana samskara, they will become very powerful devotees. They will become very powerful preachers. And Prabhupada did say that, it will take a few generations. What has been started, what Prabhupada started, some 50 years back, naturally it takes some time for the purification to take place. And that's why he mentioned that it will take a few generations. And then one day we will have such kind of very powerful young boys in our movement who will attend Gurukul and become very highly qualified brahmanas, and who will become powerful preachers as well. Gradually that will come.
Somewhere Prabhupada mentioned that a High Court judge son cannot become judge unless he is qualified.
Yes.
Similarly, a Brahmana son cannot become Brahmana unless he is Brahmanical culture. If he has.
Yeah, yes. Yes, which is very logical, isn't it? Just because one happens to be born in a family where one's father is a High Court judge, unless one gets the proper training, he cannot automatically claim to be. But that is what is happening in Brahmana families, and that's the irony. That's what Prabhupada is pointing out, that this is most unacceptable, not at all logical, So just because one is born in a Brahmana family, unless he takes up proper training and education to become qualified Brahmana, only then he can be accepted as a qualified Brahmana. Yeah. Okay.
And secondly, this lot of intercaste marriages are taking place. So Brahmana to Shudra,
Yes.
Vaishya to Brahmana.
Well, that's of course a whole very major topic of discussion also, inter-caste marriage. And modern day society, anyways, don't understand some of the basic principles that are there. That's why generally within a Brahmana family, one would marry another Brahmana, someone from a Brahmana family. And so Bhagavatam actually gives guidelines in terms of how to follow this system. When that system is properly followed, then there is a good standard that is kept, and otherwise, if one starts to mix in a very unplanned manner, then everything becomes mixed up and polluted in so many different ways. Of course, the Vedic culture is such, and the Varnashram culture. Vedic culture means actually Varnashrama culture. Everyone is given the opportunity to progress and to advance. But generally, someone within a particular, for example, Varna, can be called also as caste. Of course, so much of misunderstanding, just like Prabhupada is telling here, so much of misunderstanding regarding Brahmana culture, so much of misunderstanding regarding Varna culture, regarding caste culture, etc. like that. So best is to hear from the Vedic literatures and know that Vedic knowledge is not just ordinary knowledge. It is not man-made knowledge. It is coming from Krishna himself, and it is being transmitted through various acharyas throughout the ages like that. So I think we can close for today. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatm ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai, His Holiness Bhakti Rama Swami Maharaj ki Jai.